It's time for the most anticipated video YouTube has ever seen on my channel, with an enormous crowd of over 1/2 dozen eagerly waiting in anticipation. Well, the wait is over. You will see cutting-edge special effects. You will face difficult moral dilemmas.
I don't know.
A dog will do a trick.
Ready? Do calculus. Yeah, I didn't like that class either.
Coming up on Point Man Zero, the YouTube channel.
Closed captioning where available.
This episode of Point Man Zero's YouTube account is brought to you by Joe's Abortion Clinic. Remember, at Joe's, no fetus can beat us. So, superstition. What is it? Superstition is belief held without repeatable and demonstrable evidence, sometimes even after being shown evidence to the contrary. Boring! What we need is a demonstration. Honey?
What, dear?
You mind if I use your leftover black spray paint?
What do you want to use it for?
No reason. I'm just, making a YouTube video. Okay, so maybe I can't show you an example because animal cruelty laws or what have you. Anyway, I'm pretty sure you all have a basic understanding of what superstition is. But why do we have superstition? Why do we have superstitious learning? Well, in science, we have something called a sample size. You don't just test something once, you test it over and over again. The reason why is because you want to make sure that you get the same results each time. However, when an animal is running around in nature, they need to learn something as fast as possible. They don't need to walk into an electric fence over and over again to figure out that the electric fence hurts them. The very first time it happens, it needs to burn into their memory. This fence equals bad. So sometimes we get what's called a superstition, a belief that we've made by having one chance encounter, and the belief is wrong. Alright, so I have standard dice. If I say the magic word shablagoo, I will roll a 6. Shablagoo! That's a 6. Let's see if it works again. Shablagoo! Look at that. It's magic. By the way, I actually had to do 37 takes of this in order to get it right. But remember, that was 1 in 37 chance, turns out. That can happen in real life, and then all of a sudden, somebody will have a superstition that the word shablagoo is tied to the dice. I mean, we could try it again. Shablagoo. Holy crap. I have 1 standard playing dice. If I say the magic word shablagoo, 6 will come up. Shablagoo. See, there's 6. Don't believe me? Shablagoo. There's another 6. Still don't believe me? Shablagoo. Shablagoo. Damn. Animals get superstition too.
Say, what?
They do. The first guy to discover this was this pimp daddy right here. This handsome man is known in the speed dating circles as none other than Handsome B.F. Skinner, whose hobbies include walking on the beach, talking about shopping, and watching pigeons for hours. Alright, so check it out. B.F. Skinner was the inventor of the Skinner box, right? You take an animal, you take a box, you put the animal in the box. It was pretty revolutionary of its time. Science has come a long way since then, but it was pretty revolutionary at the time. Alright, so once you have the animal in the box, you train it to do something like push a lever, push a button, pull a lever, something. Whenever they hit that button, food comes out. So then you have animals that are trained to do something in order to get food. So they know when they want food, they walk up, they push the button. It's like a vending machine for animals. Okay, so Skinner had his animals, he had them in a box, and they learned how to use a button. They push the button and food comes out. So then he gets another brilliant idea. He says, hey, let's disable the button. Let's have food just drop randomly. And then we'll see what the animals do. Apparently Skinner was just on a mission to frustrate the hell out of some pigeons. Don't know why, but it led to a great discovery. The pigeons did a very, very interesting thing. Okay? When the food dropped, whatever they were doing, when the food dropped, they started doing more of it to try to get the food to drop. One pigeon was turning around counterclockwise when the food dropped. And then the pigeon started turning around counterclockwise all the time, trying to get the food to drop. The pigeons became superstitious. They had a superstition in them. Each one of them had their own superstition. They had a belief that if they did a certain action, it would get the food to drop. Even though the food was put on a random timer, and no matter what they did, the food was going to drop when it was going to drop, and nothing they did was going to change it. The pigeons became superstitious. They were worshiping at the altar of Skinner's food drop. They were doing rituals to get the food. I mean, they weren't, lining up and sacrificing each other to the food drop machine like we've been known to do with volcanoes, but they each had their own superstition. And their superstition was based on a random outcome. But they were truly convinced that what they were doing was affecting the outcome, even though it wasn't.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what does this mean? Well, just like our bird brain buddies in a box, we are susceptible to misunderstanding causality. There is a reason why there's a saying in science, correlation does not imply causation. Just because thing A happens and then thing B happens does not mean A thing caused B thing. But once a superstitious belief is learned, it is almost impossible to get rid of. Don't believe me? Find the nearest casino. Pick a game. Watch the people playing. Notice the superstitious behavior, such as blowing on dice. My favorite? The little old ladies at the slot machines. Some will rub a button, or maybe even a spot on the screen. Some, like the pigeons, will actually turn around before they spin. And no matter how many times they lose in a row, they still keep doing it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I argue that life is the slot machine. And religion is the superstitious rituals for which we have come up with to try to influence the slot machine. And if you're a religious person and you say, ha, that's not right, because my religion works for me and I know it's true. Just remember, people who belong to another religion say the exact same thing.